My guest today is Deja Hillis, the founder of Faithscape Learning Pod, a faith-based K-5 microschool located in Casa Grande, Arizona, which she launched in August of 2024. An early elementary school teacher for nearly a decade, Deja has a passion for literacy education and is the author of four children's books. Deja Hillis, welcome to the Liberated Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I so appreciate it. I'm super excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you here. I'm really eager to hear more about your story and your founder journey to creating Faithscape, which is again a micro school in Arizona, located about 45 minutes outside of Phoenix. So just fascinated to learn more about your story. But let's start, if we could, Deja, with what got you into education in the first place? Why did you decide to become a teacher, and what was that early teaching experience like for you?
All right, so this is a great question because, I think a lot of us have stories about when they were kids and they always said what they wanted to be when they grew up. And for me, it was a teacher always because I would have my stuffed animals lined up and I would pretend to give them quizzes and tests. And it was just so exciting to me to be able to have like a leadership role as a kid, and wanting to having such an admiration for my teachers that I was like implementing that as a kid, with my little stuffed animals. So I think in, those moments and creativity of trying to like entertain myself as a kid, I think that brought out like me wanting to be a teacher. And so, right after college, I jumped into that. And ever since then, I've been growing and learning so much and kind of just trying to um, be what I wanted also as a student, as a young student, as a student with a disability. Now that
Okay,
is
yeah,
another.
talk a little more about that then, if you could, Deja. Yeah.
So when I was about, I want to say 13 years old, I lost all of my hearing. It was a dramatic loss, but it was a dramatic loss in that moment. But there were a few things that led up to the complete and total hearing loss. So I would say like about 8 years old, I started asking my parents to repeat themselves. It just seems like things were getting a little faint and, lots of testing done, procedures, the whole nine, and they could not figure out what the cause of this hearing loss was. But when I was 13, that's when, it was a complete drastic hearing loss. And that kind of required me to have to regulate my emotions, learn how to regulate my emotions, and just dealing with, a lot of things that kids go through as, adolescents, like, bullying, I've dealt with it all. And that, definitely fueled my desire to kind of replicate some of the great teachers that I had, but also some teachers who fell short. I knew what I needed to do as a teacher to like make students feel more comfortable, to make them feel like they belong, and to like just actually listen because sometimes you don't get that, as a student with a disability. So yeah, it's been a journey.
Yeah, so you had that sort of empathy for other children who are going through similar disabilities or having similar struggles. Were you able to then get your hearing returned or yeah,
Yeah, so I
yeah.
actually got the cochlear implant a
Okay.
little bit after the hearing loss occurred, or the total hearing loss. So that, surgery was a lot on me, but my faith obviously as a kid really helped me like cope with it, and also with writing. That was an outlet for me, and that's, kind of where I started to start wanting to write stories and, just get my thoughts and feelings out. So the cochlear implant was this procedure done to kind of restore, I don't want to restore because it doesn't give me hearing back, but it gives me a new way of hearing through the brain. So yeah, so
Interesting.
that's what,
Okay.
kind of helped me. And I'm
Wow.
a lip reader now. It's not fully, the same as being able to completely hear. However, I do lip read and that helps a lot. But without
Wow.
this, I cannot hear. So I take it out at night, hear nothing. It's
Wow.
crazy.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so you went to college, studied education,
Actually, English.
English. Okay.
Yeah, so because like I said, outlet writing was an outlet for me, and so I just loved it. I love writing poetry, love creating the most, fascinating stories, and so I was, stuck between, okay, so I do love teaching, but I also really love writing. And I've always seen myself as being an author. So I thought I had to choose. I was like, well, I don't know where to go. So I was just like, let me just stick with writing because I know this is what I love and this is what I'm good at. But then after college, I found out that you can teach without having an education degree in charter. So that was my first step into the education field, teaching charter, learning and
Okay.
growing in charter, and being able to both
Yeah.
write on the side and teach.
So these are charter schools in Arizona?
Yes, there
Yeah.
are lots of charters in Arizona, and
Right.
so yeah, it was really great. The first charter school I went to was an absolutely amazing charter school who's doing great things right now. So yeah, that's kind of where I started with charter.
And so you were, I know, a teacher in kind of the kindergarten to second grade levels for
Yes.
nearly a decade. Was that always in charter schools? Did you go to different schools? What was your experience like as a teacher?
Well, yeah, mostly it's been in charter. So Phoenix, I taught, at the same school for a few years, and then I met my husband, and he was stationed in the military, so we moved to New Orleans, where I taught kindergarten for 2 years, and teaching in a new place, with the whole new set of, it's a whole new culture. It's just different, and so it's just like really tough, but it was also very rewarding, because you really see the strength of you as a teacher, what you're able to endure, and so I taught there for about 2 years, and then back here I actually taught in public school. And it was very interesting to jump from charter to public, completely 180 because, well, charter, everybody's uniform, everybody's doing the same thing. All teachers are expected to teach this way, all the schedules are the same. It feels very, I don't know how to pronounce it, explain it, but uniform. Public school, on the other hand, I walked in there and I was like, whoa, what's going on? Oh no, I need order. Like all the kids were rocking me. So I'm like, what? Your hand? Like it was just a complete change for me. And it taught me a lot as well. And that was here, where I taught in public school. And I just felt like I needed a place that I can speak about faith, talk about God, pray with students because I noticed that a lot of students actually wanted to. They wanted to, a student brought in a Bible and he's just like, I'm like, oh my gosh, you're reading a Bible right now? I was like, that is so great. He was like, will you read it with me? He was so excited that I would possibly read this Bible, but I knew I couldn't. And then when I told him, I'm so sorry. I don't think I'll be able to read it right now. Like, I had to let him know that I couldn't do it. And he was very upset at the end of the day. And it was that moment too that I was like, okay, I need to be doing something where I can bring those students in. They need a space where they can, talk about God, read the Bible. And so that experience in public with that, it definitely like, okay, yeah, it pushed me. It pushed me to do this.
Yeah. Yeah, that you wanted a place that would enable you to sort of live through your values and be able to teach in the way that you wanted to teach, reach
Right.
children in the way that you felt that they wanted to be reached, many of them.
Yes.
But why not go to a faith-based private school? What made you think I have to create my own?
Yeah, so good question too. So my daughter, she is, first of all, I was panicking because she was about to start kindergarten. And I just knew that I did not want her to attend any type of traditional school. And I knew I needed to work. And so I was just trying to figure out how can, I be her teacher, but also um, create a place I can be her teacher, work, and also bring in other students as well.
Can
And,
I can I can I interrupt you there just before you go on? Sorry, Deja, but what was it about not wanting to send your daughter to traditional school? Was that the faith-based element, or were you just thinking that education could be done differently?
Well, it's a lot of different things. It's my own experience and seeing so much happening. Um, for example, this is a raw experience. When I was probably like, I think I was maybe first grade or something like that, in a public school, back in Phoenix. I remember I walked into the restroom, the door was closed and someone peeked over in the stall and was just like, ha ha, I'm watching IC. And I remember feeling so mortified and humiliated. There was no one around. It was recess. So, there was no monitors, nothing was happening. And when I think about experiences like that and what I want for my child, I know that in a big setting, it's hard to really see what's going on. It's hard to really truly keep an eye on our precious little babies to, protect them. And so I was like, I can't, I need something completely different where not, I can just keep an eye on her. I know she's safe. Um, there's just a lot of ins and out that happen in a large setting. And I had to build something that was completely different.
Yeah. Okay. So you're having this experience as a teacher, wanting to teach in a different setting that was much more embracing of faith, and as a parent, wanting something different for your child that was more nurturing. So then what happened next? At this point, are you still teaching in the public school and your daughter's approaching kindergarten age? Take us to that moment. What was happening?
Right. So I, so whew, there's another piece of the public school part. So because I did not have a education degree or a certificate, uh, so the school that I was teaching at, they needed someone to come in because there was like a shortage of teachers, and then I was subbing. And so then I moved into the full-time role, and then that's how I got, to teaching. But there's certain rules and regulations where you can't keep hiring a teacher that's not certified. It can only be short term. So, it was either I have to take the steps to get certified to keep that job in public school, or I would not be able to teach again. I'd have to leave. So it was something to me where I was like, okay, yeah, I could take the steps to, get certified, but I didn't feel that that was my path because I had already went to school. I felt like I was going backwards. I was like, well, I've already been teaching for so long, and I've taught a charter, I have this under my belt. And I was just like, to go backward and do all the schooling again to try to get certified just to stay here it didn't feel right. And so that's when, I was just kind of researching, looking around. I was on LinkedIn, I kept seeing KaiPod pop up. It was like, I was like, what is this? A micro school? Never heard of anything like this before. But, I was just like, okay. But then I just, let it slide. But I started a Bible plan that said a leap of faith, taking a leap of faith. And I was like, hmm, just things were going on in my brain. I was just like, what does this mean? So I went back to KaiPod, did more research. Wow, maybe I can do this. It's not you, opening a big, massive public school. It's you doing something small with the skills that you've earned and learned to make a difference and an impactful way. So I was just like, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna take this leap.
I love that. And of course, listeners and viewers will know that I'm a big fan of KaiPod. We've had founder Amar Kumar on the podcast several times and also other KaiPod founders. So KaiPod is a national microschooling network that has its own sort of branded microschools, including some in the greater Phoenix area. But in recent years, KaiPod has really gained even a greater name for itself as a catalyzer of microschools like yours with its KaiPod Catalyst program that helps founders who have all kinds of different visions for, learning pods and microschools, different educational philosophies to basically come through a startup accelerator program for several weeks and get mentoring on how to open a new school or learning environment, and then get sort of continued coaching and mentoring and business support through KaiPod after launch. So I know you had said to me, Deja, that you were involved in the KaiPod Catalyst program, I guess the second cohort. So this would have been a little while ago, about what, a year and a half ago, that you were part of
Second,
that
yeah.
program. So tell us a little bit about that Startup Accelerator experience and the ways in which KaiPod helped you.
iPod is so amazing. I can talk all day about, how blessed I feel to be a part of it. How knowledgeable everybody behind KaiPod is towards getting you to where you need to be, giving you not just what you want to hear, but the raw truth of what it's like to be a founder. Like, in the beginning, Amr told us, this is what it's going to be like. You're going to have days where you want to cry, where you want to give up. Like he was just telling us, this is what it's going to be. But then he was showing us the beauty on the other side of it. Like, okay, this is what's going to happen. You may cry, you may fall down, but look at what's going to happen. This is what the future looks like for your micro school. And so I think coming in and having that realistic expectation of what it was really helped. And, you know, having a whole like plethora of resources, documents that you could use that you can, copy and paste and then, change to fit what you need for your school. Anything you can think of that you would need to start a medical school, they had prepared for you. Talking with other founders that were a part of KaiPod, being able to, share their experiences and get feedback from them, having a partner who you worked with. It could be somebody that was in the same state as you, which I did have a partner in the same state. We would exchange thoughts and ideas, and it was just more, you had that support. You had that friend that, helped you along the way. And so they just provided everything to really truly help me build this up to what it is.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, it takes some of that uncertainty away from the startup process. You don't have to sort of recreate the wheel. There's founders who've gone before who can share their expertise and some of these, practical tools and templates to get you started. So, Deja, how long was it for you to go from idea to opening doors?
So yes, I think it took about, I want to say 6 months. It was very
Wow.
short. It was a very short time, but it was a great amount of time because of the way they set it up to just, like I said, to give you everything you needed and to kind of, they gave us like I don't know what you would call it, but it was just kind of like a map, a roadmap to show you by these dates, this is what you should, have accomplished this, and so that helped kind of move this along. And so that's when I got the LLC and everything just kind of went into place and I was able to form.
Yeah. And what were some of the biggest challenges that you found in that sort of pre-launch, initial launch stage?
I love that question because I think it's a question that, or an answer that a lot of other founders have. And it's, for me at least, finding a location and then all the regulations that come with that. Like, okay, we have to make sure that, this zoning is correct and that you have this, in place, that you have all your licensing. So I think the documents you need, finding the location, figuring out pricing, that part for me was the biggest part, the biggest challenge. Fire safety, stuff like that. Last minute, we had to like get some stuff done that we thought we didn't need. And then they were like, oh my gosh, like you have to hurry and, set this fire panel up or else you can't open on this day. Like we almost didn't open on our intended start date. I had to move it back. So yeah, just little things like that, little intricacies that sometimes you can't, plan for.
Yeah, I mean, location regulation tend to be two of the top challenges for today's new school founders. And of course, you're lucky to be in Arizona, which has relative to other states
Yes,
fewer regulations for new school
exactly.
founders. But yet still not an easy startup process. I'm just always amazed at the founders I interviewed just for your courage and your steadfastness in the wake of these challenges to be able to move forward. So you did open with a slight delay, as you said, and you opened with 4 students in August of 2024. You've now more than doubled to 10 students. But tell us about those initial kind of founding families and what drove them to take a chance on a new micro school.
Yeah, so I actually had a student, one of my students was he was an old student that I had in the public school. And I knew the family were of the faith. They, spoke about, God a lot and, we had those conversations and I knew that this is what they would want. I knew that they would, I guess, follow me, if you would say. And so, I let them know what I was doing. I said, I'm building this school, we want you to be a part of it. I love their son. He was amazing. And so I was just like, it would be such a blessing to have him, be one of our founding students. And so they joined us right away. And the other families, so I actually had a neighbor that I didn't know was my neighbor. But we were like doing active marketing. So we were like passing out flyers and I handed him a flyer and he was like, oh my gosh, he was like, you don't know how much I was looking for something like this. He was just telling me about how he just got into the faith and he, was born again, all these beautiful things that love to hear. And he was just like, yeah, we'll think about this. He was like, yeah, I think my wife would be, good with this. And so shortly after that, he joined us. Then, and this is another funny story. So I actually had another neighbor who had a micro school as well. She had a micro school through a different organization. And she told me that she was actually stopping her micro school, but she was looking for something for her son that was faith-based. And so she actually joined me in the marketing part. We were walking together, passing out flyers, and she was talking to people. Like she really, truly helped me kind of get it off the ground as well. Um, so shout out to her. And her son joined us. And then the fourth student was actually, another student. We met on Facebook. She was just reaching out. She saw a lot of my posts. She was like, I see a lot of your posts, and I'm interested in your program. And then they joined us as well. So
And
yeah.
then what about those additional families you've gained over the past several months? What is bringing them to you?
So honestly, it's social media. A lot of them find me on social media, just the posts. I do a lot of videos. I try to like capture like some of the moments that we have in class, and they just reach out through Facebook. A few of them through email, but most of them through like online marketing. That's just how everybody's kind of learned about it because, like I said, it is a small town, and it's kind of hard to get yourself out there and really promote and market and, bring everybody in. But social media helped out a lot.
And are you finding that the families are mostly attracted to the faith-based component? Are they looking for that kind of smaller, more individualized environment? I guess what is that attraction for them?
It's definitely the smaller class sizes. A lot of parents have complained about, their child not getting what they needed in the, bigger setting. They're just falling behind, or, I've even heard some bullying happening in the larger schools, and definitely the faith part aspect as well. But the majority of what I'm hearing is they want something that is more intimate, smaller, and safe. And, with it being faith-based, I think they have that trust in there as well, and being able to meet me and kind of hear about me and what I'm doing and my past and everything kind of just ties it in together. So I think I wish that there were more micro schools here. I wish that there were more options because we want to stay small, but
Yeah.
we have a lot of interest, and that kind of defeats the purpose of a micro school if I have 20 kids in my pod.
There's so much demand for these innovative learning models, and Arizona is seeing tremendous growth in micro schools, learning pods, all kinds of different educational models. It's been a long time leader in entrepreneurship and innovation in education, and of course, education choice policies that enable education funding to follow students to
Mhm.
their preferred learning environment. And those policies went universal within the past few years with a universal education savings account program that enables, again, families to choose the ideal learning environment for them. And you told me that all of your students are attending your micro school with an ESA. How important is that sort of financial accessibility piece to your entrepreneurial process?
Yeah, I think ESA is such a relief for families to be able to have that, those funds to use towards schooling, to be able to choose how they're going to be used. And the way that ours is set up is very similar to KaiPod in terms of, giving parents the option of having 2 days or 3 days or 4 days. Then families can then decide, okay, I will go ahead and do 2 days, and then the other funds from ESA can be used towards sports or, whatever they feel is necessary for their child. Or they can say, okay, 2 days with, Miss Hillis and then 2 days at home. I really like teaching science and math. So I would love to be able to teach for 2 days and then you teach for, it's given so much flexibility for parents. And I think it brings them a relief in terms of their own lifestyle because there's so many unknowns. You have students who maybe need to, who have an illness and need to miss school for whatever reason. And so it just allows you to it allows you to create a plan that works for you, a plan that works for you and your family and students.
So are the students coming to you, are they ESA homeschoolers then? Are
Yes, most of
they
them are. Yeah.
they're homeschoolers kind of accessing the ESA? Yep.
Yes. So most of them, or I don't want to say most, but a few of them were homeschooling at first, but we're using a homeschool program. So that makes it a bit easier for parents to kind of have more control over, some parts of learning.
Yeah.
So we use the Good and the Beautiful
Okay.
homeschool program.
Yeah. A
So yeah,
popular
most
homeschool
families.
program. Yep. And and so are you then are you set up, I mean, I know it's Faithscape Learning Pod. Are you set up as a private school, as a tutoring center? What's sort of your identity as an educational establishment?
Yeah, so we're actually a learning center
Yeah.
because of the fact that we do, offer 4 to 3 days.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be formed for families to be able to adjust their schedules accordingly by having, the option to come and leave. So students can come, from 10 to 2 if they want to, whatever works best for the family. So it's more like a learning center.
Yeah.
Even though I do teach, I have so much love for teaching and that I kind of just do more than I need to, if that makes sense. So I do, I teach it all. I teach science, I teach social studies, I teach writing, I teach reading, I teach math, like everything.
Yeah. Yeah, so one of the I think one of the real appeals of micro schools, and a lot of them operate like Faithscape as programs for homeschoolers who can kind of pick and choose their enrollment strategies. But I'll hear from folks that will say, well, why do these micro schools, why don't they just become private schools? Why stay as a learning center or some kind of other designation? And it seems, and I'd love to know your response to that because it seems like, at least from what I hear from other founders, is that freedom and flexibility of a different kind of structure is what's appealing about these micro school models, both from the founder perspective and the family perspective. Is that your sense too, or did you think about becoming a private school, which is also relatively easy to do in Arizona compared to other states?
I considered it. I definitely considered the private school route, but I didn't want it kind of defeated the purpose of what I wanted for my family, but other families
Mhm.
as well. Like I wanted to offer them something that I think that they needed. I knew
Mm,
that, having a private school and then, requiring a certain number of attendance days and requiring what has to be taught and, the little necessities that you have to have as a private school operator. So I think the Learning Center fit what I was seeing here in Casa Grande and also what I would hope for myself as a mom, of three. And so I think it just made more sense. It just made more
yeah.
sense to me.
Yeah, yeah. So you said you're using the Good and the Beautiful curriculum. Can you take us through a little bit more about what a typical week is like at Faithscape? How are you incorporating the curriculum and sort of academic time with non-academic and enrichment time? What does a typical day or week look like?
Thank you. So yeah, we actually changed our schedule a little bit. My husband is actually the co-founder. He teaches PE. But he's coming in now. So we start our morning with Bible study, prayer. We kind of do some reflection or Bible stories, like we just talked about Moses the other day. And, they're always intrigued as if they've heard it for the first time. But we love that. We love having a way to set our morning off on a good, note with prayer and discussion. Then after that, we move into a rotation of PE and reading. So my husband has the first rotation doing PE. I'm doing reading. We switch groups because we have first, second, and third. Even though we're K5, right now we only have enrolled first, second, and third. So we do 3 rotations within those groups of reading and math. And then we have lunch. And after lunch, we do lots of fun activities incorporated in writing, science and social studies, and enrichment. Students get to do things like t-shirt designs. They get to create, we're working on stories right now because I want them to publish their books. The goal was for them to publish their books at the end of this year, but it looks like it won't happen. But that's okay because we have more time to develop our ideas and, get these really strong stories out. So we kind of just, the afternoon time is dedicated towards lots of like fun hands-on activities, um, while the morning time is dedicated towards math and reading. Lots of breaks as well. That's the beauty of the micro school is you kind of, what students need if they can communicate what they need. They're like, oh, I'm just really tired right now. Can I just, lay on the couch for a bit? Sure. Go lay on the couch for a second. They take their shoes off. It's like home. So it completely works out, for everybody.
Yeah, and I know one of the key characteristics of the Kai Pi Catalyst program is making sure that founders are running financially sustainable small businesses. That many of the founders of today's new micro schools and learning pods are people like you, former teachers who may have not run a small business before and are now running a small business, a new school or a learning space. And Kai Pod Catalyst really helps founders through that process. What has that been like for you? Are you feeling like this is a financially sustainable business? How have you kind of managed the sort of business operations of running a small school?
Yes, that's a great question as well. You know, in the beginning, there's this panic because you're like, okay, you have this idea, you have this, beautiful thing, but it needs to be funded. And so, if you don't have students yet, or if you only have 4 students, there's no funds, and so you're kind of having to figure out where's the funds going to come from. I think KaiPod did great with providing resources for grants. They emphasize do not rely on grants in the long term. This is just something to help you get started. So I was able to get some grants, which really truly helped this first year be what it is. Now, going forward, now that we have some more momentum, we have families enrolling, it's definitely financially sustainable. I'm just learning so much about how to like manage different financial parts of being a founder. And so the grants definitely helped out. And I would definitely recommend everyone starting out to just apply to as many grants as you can. And you will get some, and it'll be very, very helpful in those beginning stages.
And what were some of those grants? Are there any that are on top of mind for you that you think would be helpful?
So one of the grants was San Juan Diego grant. I don't know if the um, requirements are the same. They might have changed a few things, but it's San Juan Diego Institute grant. And the other grant is the Vela grant, which I'm sure you're familiar with as well. That helped so much.
Great. Ah, so good. So what does the future hold, Deja? Because it sounds like you have growing demand, and yet you are cognizant of the fact that you don't want to become so big that it takes away from that intimacy and nurturing learning environment. What do you think the future holds for you and for Faithscape?
So I'm definitely thinking about that every single day. Like,
Yeah.
how are we, going to grow? Because we're growing in a way that we can't grow too much. And so I'm thinking about, okay, I will have to expand. I will have to do that. And I'm thinking about when that will be, who would how would I do the hiring process? I'm thinking about the management part of then having to train somebody to do what I've been doing. It's all right here in my head. And then having to take everything that I know already or my experience and then teach someone else to do it that way. That's major for me right now. Like, so I've been doing a lot of planning. The goal is to expand to maybe one other location. Um, and I will definitely be applying for the next step grants for Vela to be able to do that, which provides you funds to be able to expand. So that is my goal.
So opening another, rather than growing bigger in one micro school or one pod, it's growing more horizontally by opening an additional location. And then sort of thinking about that. So what do you project as a possible timeline for that expansion?
I would definitely say I would give it one more year. I
Mm,
think this would be ready to go in about one more year, if not
yeah.
two. But I think that that's realistic for me. As long as I keep planning now and trying to figure everything out, I think that that would be doable. And with God, all things are possible. So I'm not doubting that at all. Like that can be done.
Yeah, amazing. And obviously, so many parents want what you're building. So it'd be great to be able to open your doors to more students in your community. So, what advice would you give, Deja, as we begin to wrap up, to other prospective founders, maybe entrepreneurial parents and teachers just like you, who are thinking about wanting to start a new micro school learning pod, are perhaps a little hesitant to take the leap into entrepreneurship? What would you say to them?
I would definitely say that walking, taking that leap, take that leap, first of all, take that leap. Second of all, I would definitely recommend KaiPod. I would definitely recommend them as a program to help you grow, to give you all the tools you need. I would say that all the things in your head that are telling you not to do it, to ignore those things, to trust the process, and most importantly, to have faith, trust in God. And, He's never going to give you more than you can handle. And so I would definitely say to go for it, reach out to KaiPod. You will not regret that decision. Um, Not only will you gain, all the resources you need, but you gain friendships in this. I have a little group from some of the ladies that were a part of KaiPod, and we constantly support and help each other. We talk to each other, send messages, it's a beautiful thing. And so you're needed. That's what I would say. You're needed.
I love
Um,
that.
some
Yeah.
kid somewhere is looking for you to build the most beautiful micro school. And just remember that.
Ah, I love that. And you said take the leap.
Yeah.
That was sort of the main message there of go for it. It's okay. What have you found to be most rewarding in being a founder?
The most rewarding thing is hearing everybody tell me how much they enjoy being there. Not even just hearing them tell me, but literally seeing it on their face when they come in, happy to see me, coming up to me saying how much they love me. Like it brings tears to my eyes. It's like, you're doing something right if they don't want to leave. You're like, oh, I wish my dad would come pick me up late today. Yay. Like you're happy that they're coming late because you want to stay. That means so much to me. Um, wanting to be at school. Kids don't usually they want to go home early. They're like, oh, my mom's picking me up. Yay. Like, no, like wanting to genuinely be there and seeing them grow in such a short amount of time, that's such a blessing.
Yeah, that is the common characteristic I find among all of the founders that I talk to. Very different educational models, different educational philosophies, and yet that common thread is that their students are just so happy to be in these schools and spaces. It is this joyful learning environment that they don't want to leave. They're excited to come to school. They don't like school vacations and that sort of thing because they're just so happy
Yeah.
being in these amazing places that you've built. And it's just such a testament to your work as teachers, as entrepreneurs, as people passionate about working with young people and helping them to reach their full potential as well. So, just amazing work, Deja. How can listeners and viewers find out more about Faithscape Learning Pod, connect with you, follow your expansion journey, all of that good stuff?
So yeah, we I have some channels, I have my Facebook page and then we're on Instagram. I constantly post on there. I do want to start doing some blogging. I think that would be really, really interesting and exciting. But that's another thing that would be added to my plate. But you can definitely follow me on my Instagram, Facebook, which is just at Faithscape Learning.
Great.
So just Faithscape Learning.
At Faithscape Learning on social media. You mentioned KaiPod. That website is kaipodlearning.com.
Yes.
And just so many resources for today's founders that makes the startup process easier, a bit less stressful,
Yeah.
and hopefully more long-term success as you've found as well, Deja. So best wishes to you on your future success and growth. And thank you so much for being on the Liberated podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Carrie. Have a great day.